None of the distant learning approaches were helping me to reach out 100% of my students who come from underprivileged backgrounds until I started creating worksheets. It has been 10 months since I had started distributing active learning worksheets to my students. Hello, I am Absar Choudhury, and I am currently completing my fellowship program from Teach for Bangladesh. As a part of my fellowship, I am providing learning support to the children from underprivileged backgrounds. I'll be presenting the abstract of my paper titled Active Learning Worksheet, New Dimensional Approach to Teaching Learning Method During Pandemic. As the lockdown started, schools had been shut down. The South Asia has not yet recovered from the pandemic. Specifically in Bangladesh, schools have not been reopening since then. In this 16 months of school shutdown, government of Bangladesh has tried different ways to address the learning gap among students. But due to poverty among mass people, many of the students were unable to get proper support. One of the recent initiatives of the Mass and Primary Education Ministry of Bangladesh has been about sharing worksheets. Worksheets have been quite popular as they address the resource scarcity. The Mass and Primary Education Ministry has also designed worksheets for students as a trial edition. The worksheets that were given to students were traditional worksheets. Most of the assessment on the traditional worksheets were copied from the national curriculum textbook. On the other hand, few teachers have been implementing active learning worksheets from an earlier time. The concept of active learning worksheets was first described by Teaching Without Internet Alliance, a part of the Teach for All network. Let's look at the structure of active learning worksheets. Active learning worksheets are specially designed to ensure that students can be active learners and take the responsibility of their learning. The whole process follows scaffolding structure. The worksheets are designed on particularly one or two learning outcomes. Usually, there is a related story that engages the students. The story or discussion slowly describes the content of the lesson along with why it is necessary. Following ahead, the how steps are clearly guided to the students so that they know how to solve the problems. Furthermore, students are guided with examples. In some of them, the answer sections are left open to the students to explore. Finally, evaluation is done based on the learning outcomes. The questions are prepared following Bloom's taxonomy. Additionally, as the worksheet is specifically designed for grade 1 to grade 5 children, some colorful images of cartoons are also placed to make them more child-friendly. Finally, some socio-emotional learning contents are also included to make sure the children are getting the emotional recognition they need. On the contrary, traditional worksheets are designed to have only assessments. One or two examples might be given on the worksheets, but the whole process focuses on practicing effort of the students and, if possible, evaluating them. Traditional worksheets were designed as classroom supplements. The main purpose of this worksheet is to engage students in practicing activities while leaving the learning process on their hands. The main difference of these both type of worksheets lies in their purpose. While active learning worksheets target to address the learning outcome and scaffold it to the children, traditional worksheets target to enhance the students in practicing activities. Traditional worksheets do not have any proper guideline on how to achieve the competency. Active worksheets do not only provide those guidelines, but also provide life-relevant examples to make them more relevant. Regular traditional worksheets enable recalling prior knowledge and causal reasoning. Active learning worksheets teach new contents that engage with the prior knowledge and let the students use them through scaffolding. Students are expected to engage more in active learning worksheets while being in a distant learning model. Both types of worksheets were offered to 84 students from grade 3 of a government primary school through convenience sampling. 80 of them collected those worksheets. Among the 80 students, 56 students chose active learning worksheets, 14 chose the government provided traditional worksheets, and 10 filled up both the worksheets. The worksheets contained the same learning outcome for mathematics. The learning outcome was that students will be able to write numbers of maximum 4 digits in words. 10 of the copies were selected by using simple random sampling method. 5 copies were from those who only completed active learning worksheets and 5 copies from students who only completed traditional worksheets. Their copies were checked and marked. Those 10 students and their parents were also interviewed over phone. The mentionable discoveries that came through from this observation were students were more attracted towards active learning worksheets than traditional worksheets. The mistake ratio on traditional worksheets were 12%, while the mistake rate for active learning worksheets were 2%. Students completing the traditional worksheets felt that the guidelines were not clear, while students completing the active learning worksheets could reflect the properly mentioned guidelines. The number of exercises were higher on traditional worksheets. Students practiced more on traditional worksheets than on active learning worksheets. All the students needed help from outside to solve the traditional worksheets. On the contrary, only one student out of 5 needed help to solve the active learning worksheet. After different layers of evaluations and overphone interviews, it has been found that students with active learning worksheets were observed to be more competent on the learning outcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to me.